Hello everyone, B.O.R.G Dexter here, and in this video I will be reviewing Herdling, a game made by the Swiss developer Okomotive. These people made games such as Far Lone Sails and Far Changing Tides, chill adventure games that rely heavily on atmosphere and a bit less on gameplay. I have seen others play Far Lone Sails and it seemed like a neat game, but I never heard of Far Changing Tides and I might give it a try after seeing some screenshots from the game. Anyway, Herdling is a short, about 3, maybe 3.5 hours, atmospheric adventure game about leading a herd of so-called Calicorns, fantastical creatures that remind me of the heavily furred Yaks. The game starts with your character waking up in the city after hearing a car alarm. You will soon find your first Calicorn, and after picking up a stick and taking off the bucket from the Calicorn's head, you tame and name it. Your first order of business is to lead the few Calicorns you find from the city to the open countryside, and from there to the mountaintop that you are guided towards via paintings and later dreams from the beginning. As a shepherd, you will need to steer your herd away from environmental hazards, such as spiky trash in the train station, clear your Calicorns from branches or snow, which they accumulate by going through deep snow or bushes, and which slow the Calicorns down, and take care not to lose your animals to birds of prey. If one of your Calicorns is wounded, you will need to feed them in order to heal them. Another good thing is the visual language of the game, so to speak, meaning that the colorful flowers that are present in the game not only look like they belong, but also charge your herd's stampede charges, displayed by the Calicorn icons at the bottom of the screen. If one of your Calicorns is wounded, it will not be able to hold a stampede charge, and will be displayed in red at the bottom of the screen. Of course, as is already tradition in the games industry, objects you can interact with, such as levers or points where you and your herd need to push something, are marked by colors. The game does add some more smaller new mechanics such as blizzards or holes suddenly appearing while walking on ice, but the game doesn't demand too much from the player, gameplay wise. In the more relaxed moments, you will be able to decorate your Calicorns by placing the collectible items you find in the world on their horns. At certain places, you can also play fetch with them, which is pretty neat. In return for taking care of them, your animals will help you by pushing obstacles in the way and by providing you with love and companionship, of course. As far as gameplay goes, that's about it. The point of games like this, like I already said, is mostly the atmosphere and journey. It is good then that I found the environment pretty cool. As I already said, you start the game in the city and then lead your herd to the countryside, then to the train station, then into the forests, all the way to the mountaintops. The game is heavily inspired by paganistic myths and lore. At times, deeper in the forest, you will see these Lushan-like spirits. Lushans are mythical forest spirits from Slavic lore. If you played The Witcher, you know, guiding you and your herd onwards. You will also notice the various statues made of stone and sticks that resemble the Lushan-like creatures or your Calicorns. There are also a lot of paintings around that depict your herd and the Lushan, which I'm assuming represents the main character as a herder, painted with vivid colors. Overall, a very cool looking environment. The music is somewhat underrepresented and usually appears when you initiate a series of stampedes in scenic open areas. I would have liked to hear more music, but what is there is pretty decent. When I say some areas are open, they are, but they always end in one way to progress, meaning to say that the game is linear, and just to be clear, I have nothing against that. As far as negative things go, a few times in my short playtime, I saw my herd was somewhat clunky and confused in the movement, and they would sometimes get stuck a bit. Nothing big and didn't happen too often though, so no biggie. The game is also a tiny bit too short in my opinion, but this is typical for atmospheric adventure type games like this. But I would have appreciated another hour or so of gameplay. As far as your Calicorns go, I didn't really feel attached to them at all for a while. But in the end they managed to endear themselves to me. I just thought it would happen sooner, what with them being all cute and fluffy. Of course, with games like these the replay value is non-existent, at least for me. And their Far Alone sales game felt more interesting, gameplay wise, and I would not want to play that game, even though I only ever watched other people play it, having never played it myself. But that is kinda my point, these games rely on atmosphere and vibes, and if you played it once, or watched someone else play it, the replay value isn't there. So, to recap, the game is light on gameplay, it is pretty easy, has no replay value whatsoever, and the music is somewhat underrepresented. On the other hand, the Calicorns are cute and fluffy, and they eventually became important for me and I cared for what happened to them. The environment, inspired by paganistic myths, looks great and creates a fitting atmosphere, and even the more quote-unquote civilized environments, like the city and the train station, have a cool vibe and represent a nice juxtaposition to the natural forest and mountain environments. I think that's about it for this video, I don't have much else to say. This was a pretty decent game and I give Herdling a 7 out of 10. Okay guys, that's gonna be it for this video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't like it, give it a thumbs down. Let me know down in the comments, have you played this game? And if you did, what do you think of it? As for me, I'm pretty glad that games like these exist in this industry. And to be honest, I'm looking forward what Okomotive Studios has to bring next. Until next time, see ya.